Okay, everyone, on the final day of 2025, probably fitting that we're discussing a Celtic defeat, another Celtic defeat, our 17th and final defeat of the calendar year. However, that's only because we've got no more matches left. There's a fair chance that we have another one very soon, the way things are going. It looks like we're both in some sort of heaven, Stevie, with the white all around us. Certainly doesn't feel like that, though, does it?
Yeah, hi Hamish. Well, I kind of expected after the first 30 seconds, you knew what kind of performance was coming there, and it was yet another disastrous away performance that was going to be conjured up by Celtic, to the point where I don't see the point in getting raging and angry anymore. It doesn't really solve anything. I kind of now am at the point where I've lost trust and I've lost faith in the manager. Tried really hard not to. I mean, I've said to you how bad I felt for him. I said to you that I felt, some of the abuse and the criticism that he endured was a bit too much. But I was willing to persevere and really did want to see an improvement after that Aberdeen game. And it's now shown, despite the, people talking up the attacking movement, there were some serious deficiencies against Livingston. And that tonight for me is enough. Really don't think I can trust the manager going forward anymore. And I actually worry now what we're going to be allowing him to do in January. I really hope that I'm eating my words, but I have a feeling that I could be right with this, because I fear big time about the players that are going to be leaving, the players that we're going to be bringing in under this manager. Because tonight for me, that was nothing short of a disgrace, Hamish, and it's going to take an awful lot for him to regain that trust again.
Yeah, I think, watching the game, that was the big thing for me, was that there was no part of that game, no part of that performance that you could cling on to, even the biggest optimist out there. And people will know generally I like to go down that way of thinking, sometimes probably to my detriment. And I dare say a lot of people will probably be looking at the fact that I was, so positive about Nancy earlier in the week, and it's kind of made me look a bit daft, losing, that badly to Motherwell, who are a good side, but playing so poorly. But I like to kind of, see the positive in things, but there was nothing in that performance, nothing at all that, as I say, you could look at and go, right, okay, that's kind of being worked on, and maybe we're not a million miles away from that taking shape. But the reality is, I think that the players are not playing for him. And I've always, I think throughout, and it's only been a short period of time, but I've viewed this entire Wilfried Nancy regime through the players' kind of eyes in many ways, and how they've been playing. And I've always been saying, look, are the players playing for him? Because I think there's been doubts about that in the early matches. As early as the first half against Roma, I remember saying, doesn't look like the players are ready to give everything for what is a new manager. And then obviously we end up having those 4 defeats, and it really looked like the end of days type stuff at Tannadice when he's walking off. But then you get a bit of a resurgence, and we beat Aberdeen, and it looked like the players were playing for him late on in that game to get that winner and even the third goal. And Livingston, obviously the defending wasn't great, but we played some good stuff going forward. So you're thinking, right, okay, go and build on that, against Motherwell. And I thought Celtic would. I thought maybe something was building, but clearly got it badly wrong. And that performance against Motherwell was as bad as anything we've seen so far. And again, just looking at the players, it was so obvious to me that the players just, they don't believe in Wilfried Nancy. And that's a major issue. Like, see if things were going badly, and clearly some things have gone against us in recent matches, whether that's refereeing decisions or whether it's just kind of bad bits of luck or great finishing from opposition. But you could deal with all of that adversity if it felt like the players were still on the same side as the manager and were ready to put this right. The concern for me, the major, biggest concern for me in that match was that it just looked like the players weren't and aren't buying into Wilfried Nancy. So I find myself at the same place, I think, after the cup final or after Tannadice, where once again, I'm just questioning, like, what's the point in all of this? Nancy might have something about him. He's done things previously in his career, maybe with like a full pre-season and all that stuff. This could have worked, but at this point, the players just don't believe in him for whatever reason. So how does it get better if that's the case? Sorry, I know that was about a million thoughts there, Steve, but I'll just throw it to you and you can deal with it.
Well, I do feel like for him to turn this around, he'll have to be given funds in January, and that's also what I fear could also make this even worse. I really don't trust, given, I mean, it's not up to me, obviously, it's up to the Celtic board, but there's another issue. It's them who are putting their faith in this guy. Now, the Celtic, there's a bigger problem than Wilfred Nancy, and it is the Celtic board. Despite anybody's thoughts on Brendan Rodgers, I wasn't his biggest fan. They refused to give him the proper adequate funds to put us in a good position and start the season off strongly so that we can avoid this type of mess, so that, we could navigate our way through that Champions League qualified, at least, Hamish, and you get more income from that. We can start building a squad for that can compete. I say compete, that could at least, put up a resemblance fight in Europe and also tackle domestic competition. And then you'll be able to attract better players that could at least do that, or fit enough, athletic enough, and mentally strong enough to cope with 3 games a week, for example. The Celtic side, what we've got since then, the Celtic side is just a disjointed mess. We're filled with mentally weak players. Again, we have a defence, we have an entire team actually that is so easy to play against. I would argue that we are probably the easiest team in the league to play against. Now, you look at the league table and you say to yourself, well, you're talking crap, Stevie, because you've got Dundee down there, you've got Kilmarnock and Livy. But see this Celtic side, look at how they've been playing this season under Nancy in these last 7 games. Okay, 6 domestically. Let's take him in a row again. Every one of the matches, Hamish, doesn't matter if it's a team like Hearts at the top of the league or a team at the bottom like Livy. They all look capable of really giving us some really problematic moments, and they look as if they're capable of scoring. And I wanted to see this Celtic side knowing exactly. I mean, look, you know how Motherwell would have played tonight. I've been raving about them all season. I think they're an excellent team. I think they're probably the best coached team in the league.
Yeah, we're obviously we're talking about Celtic's failings here, and I think we helped to make Motherwell look good, but also, God, if you want to see a team who are maximising what they've got and playing some brilliant football, I couldn't believe some of the football Motherwell played tonight. And a lot of it, as I say, was us not getting close to them, but it was mad. Like, Motherwell were streets ahead of that. That wasn't just a 2-0 game, a 2-0 win for them that was smash and grab. It also wasn't a 2-0 win where they just had the better chances. That was a 2-0 win where they deserved the win, they had the better chances, they probably had more possession, or certainly did more with their possession, played much better football, looked much fitter, looked much more hungry. Every single part of that game, Motherwell were better than us.
Hamish, here's one as well, right? Motherwell won that. I mean, that first half was a total hammering. The Motherwell were playing that type of football where 2 right backs at centre half, and Stephen O'Donnell and Paul McGinn, right? No excuses made whatsoever. They were also missing 2 of their better players as well tonight. And as I've already mentioned, they've got 2 right backs playing at centre half, playing that level of football because the manager had just drilled it into them from day one when he's got there. Never made any excuses, never complained about a budget, never moaned whatsoever about the resources up against us. In fact, when they came to, I was in the press room at Celtic Park when we beat them 3-2, but we really got out of jail. That was their goalkeeper that got us back in the game. Ironically enough, he kept them right in it tonight with a brilliant save that could have made it 2-1, 5 minutes to go or something. However,
didn't even get off my bed for that when I was watching. I didn't feel any sort of feeling at that moment. I just feel like it's all been kind of sapped out of me watching this team. It's just apathy at this point.
Yeah, and as to come back into it as well, when the Motherwell manager came in, you got the impression that he came away from that game at Celtic Park thinking, I know what we did right, I know what we did wrong. Next time we play Celtic, we'll be prepared. We know that we know what their game plan will be. I would actually say our game plan and our style of play has regressed rapidly since that day when Brendan Rodgers got the 3-2 win, and that was him actually checked out. So that is so scary to me. But it's the fact that they're playing that type of football with those players at their disposal, and then you get to hearing all these excuses for Alfred Nancy, where it's like, oh, just wait till he gets his players and wait till he's got players that can do the job for him, as opposed to what we've got now. Hamish, with the players and the resources at our disposal, there should be no excuses. And I'm not saying we should just turn up and beat Motherwell, who are an excellent side, as I said, probably the best coached in the league. But it's just, again, the very fact that highlights for me that Wilfred Nancy didn't do his homework on Motherwell at all tonight. Seemed completely shocked, and the players seemed shocked after the first minute when Motherwell were pinning them back. And the attempts to sort of get the ball out and get everybody up the park was the biggest one for me. I was just watching it in the first half going, what am I seeing here? Because Motherwell, the way that they shut us down, it was like when you're actually seeing like Champions League levels stuff, when how you're going up against teams that we literally can't compete with, and you're just hoping that we get a wee break or something. I was actually like that tonight. I was like, against Motherwell, Fir Park, I was hoping for any type of lucky break, any type of decision to go away, just to actually get us up the park and get a bit of a breather. And there was one moment when we did get a free kick in a pretty decent position, and you know the one I'm talking about with Paulo Bernardo?
Yeah.
I just burst out laughing, and I thought, I can watch this. I'm doing this video with Hamish later. What's the point in getting wound up and getting frustrated? I mean, the real problem is above Nancy, as we know, but that tonight just summed it all up for us, to get a chance to get back in the game, and the players, just everybody around them, looked as if just throwing their hands up in the air and looked as if they were completely out of ideas.
But that's what I mean about, like, not virtually every single aspect of our performance being poor, even when we work ourselves into that kind of position. As you say, I think the commentators were even, mentioning it at the time, that we'd created nothing, but here's an opportunity to put the ball in the box, and Bernardo's delivery is pitiful. Like, he literally, I don't think he even reaches the penalty box before the guy heads it away. And we had corners as well. Arnie Engels was kind of guilty of hitting the first man with corners, and whenever we gave the ball away, and so many players, Nygren, McGregor, Hatate, a million times giving the ball away, we just look so exposed when that happens because we're so open. But the way you deal with that, as I said the other day, I think is keeping the ball better, but we're not. Our players aren't capable of that. They either don't have the quality, or they're just incredibly careless. Like, that's the I don't have much faith left in Wilfred Nancy, if I'm honest. I thought his post-match interview on Premier Sports was a difficult watch. I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes long. I think I managed to last about 3 minutes of that, and then I just couldn't do it anymore. I wasn't really understanding anything he was saying. I wasn't getting much insight from what he was saying, which is something I've struggled with at times with Wilfred Nancy. He's had better press conferences as well, like the one I think ahead of the Livingston game, but it seemed like he was back to waffling a little bit after that game. So, like, I don't have much faith left in Wilfred Nancy. I think you also can't just pin it all on him. Like, you have to look at the bigger picture as well. And I mean, these players are just letting the club down, so much. Some of the effort out of them in that game, guys pulling out of challenges. Like, Luke McCowan had one at the start of the second half. He just completely pulled out of the challenge. And I know that isn't necessarily Luke McCowan's game to be, firing into tackles and winning the ball, but there comes a point you're 2-0 down away at Fir Park. I don't care what you think about the manager, but where's your professional pride? Stop just having your face tripping you every time we see you. Actually go and make something happen. And he just completely pulled out of that challenge. And I'm not singling him out. He wasn't the only one. Rayo Hatate in that first half was like abysmal. But again, like, first game of this calendar year, Stevie, we mentioned the other day, didn't we? Ibrox in Rayo Hatate was abysmal. Rail Hatati's been abysmal for 75-80% of this season. He's been a 2 out of 10 for 75-80% of this calendar year. Yet here he is still starting games for us. But where I've got a little bit of sympathy for Nancy is, like, if you don't start Hatati, like, who do you really start? Like, it doesn't feel to me like we've got other options. People have convinced themselves Paulo Bernardo is this superstar. Bernardo was awful as well in the first half. Callum McGregor was terrible. Dyson Maeda his first touch is absolutely awful. So it's an all round disaster. And obviously all of this stuff we're talking about, Nancy and the players, falls on the board. As I repeat, I think I said it at the start, see 17 defeats in it this calendar year. We had 2 in 2024. 17 is totally unacceptable. That is not all on Wilfried Nancy, clearly. This Celtic team have been losing games throughout the year. What is on Nancy, I think, is the fact that the team looks so disorganised and the team are kind of lacking motivation, and I struggle to see where we go from here. Well, we go to the derby on Saturday, and I don't think anyone's really got high hopes for that.
No, there's a few points really I'm wanting to make as well, Hamish. When I was looking just the table, for example, like that 50 feet as well in the season. Now, one of the most underperforming...
So it's more than Motherwell, more than Rangers, more than Hearts, same as Hibs, same as Dundee United.
Wow. Now, one of the biggest underperforming Celtic sides, and there was context to that, was 12-13. When you remember, we won the league with the lowest points total ever recorded, 79 points. We lost 7 games, and if you can remember, that's when Rangers had went down to the 3rd division. The Celtic players had phoned it in generally because there was just zero competition. And even then, 7 draws and 7 defeats for a Celtic side that were playing probably, in second gear the entire season, really. When I look at this Celtic team now, when I look at that table, I'm thinking, would it shock you, Hamish, if we actually got to May and you're talking we're close to double figures in defeats? Like that is a genuinely that's a genuine stat. Sorry, could be happening when you see that Celtic side. Like, I even look at the run of fixtures, and there's just no game that I can ever say I think we're going to be okay for 3 points there. There's just this Celtic side. There's no confidence in them at all for the bread and butter games, Hamish. There's none there at all. And yeah, you can blame the players and you can look at some of them for not doing a job. But ultimately, the way that they set up tonight, when I look at, Scales coming back in, Schmeichel coming back in, when I even looked at Bernardo, he was playing usually you're used to see him sitting alongside somebody like McGregor, but he was way more advanced tonight. He just looked like he wasn't clear, the whatever instructions were passed him.
But he looked uncomfy as well, Bernardo.
He did, yeah. He looked so uncomfortable. I even look at Callum McGregor, for example, Hamish, when I look at his passes compared to the boy Elliot Watt tonight, who was actually fantastic. I think he got a man in the match award at the stadium. He was excellent for them. And Elliot Watt in the first half has made something like 11 forward passes. Callum McGregor's has all pretty much just been backwards passes, 1 forward pass the entire half. That's what I'm saying. The way that they just shut us down was fairly scary, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't be shocked if, you look forward to the likes of Falkirk, who will be playing after the game on Saturday. You wouldn't be shocked to see them do the same either. It just feels as if we're getting into these games under Wilfried Nancy now, where you're pretty much 50-50 in it now. It's no longer getting into games feeling like it's tricky away ties or tough home games or matches that even, we should be winning, you would say, on paper, Hamish. Under Wilfried Nancy now, I look at them and I think every game's going to be a struggle. I don't get any pleasure out of it, but I'm just being as honest as possible. I've really tried to see the positives. I've tried to listen to yourself and obviously the breakdowns that you've been doing in the channel. But when I'm just watching it now, there's just nothing there that is convincing me that we're going to be able to go on a run. Of 3 or 4, even 3 or 4 wins or something like that, Hamish. I don't think it's going to be possible under them. I think, as you're saying, the players aren't buying into it, and we're going to have some players leaving in January. And again, exits in January while the season's ongoing and it's not even a break, we're going to be missing even more, you know. And I just worry about the players of the calibre he's going to be getting in. It's a serious concern for me.
We were even speculating in our group chat that at the start of the second half that if something had potentially happened at half time, and I should stress we've not heard anything about that, but I just thought that the way the players came out, and we actually for about a couple of minutes we started the second half with a bit of you know, a bit more intensity, I think, and Yamada had that chance, which again, just talking individual players, it was an embarrassing effort from Yamada. He's got to be scoring that. It was just a really kind of trickled effort. But and then there was a period where the players seemed to lose their heads, and I think we had 3 pretty quick bookings, and Trusty has one where he's just skint by the Motherwell attacker who looked really good and just tugs him back, and then Hatate gets a daft booking, and then Ralston goes really hard into someone and gets booked. And I thought there was a phase later on in the game where it looked like Austin Trusty had enough, and he was kind of angling for a second yellow, because he had, like, in a couple of minutes, there was a couple of cases where he shoved a guy and then he kind of squared up to a guy just before that, and I'm thinking, you're in a booking, like what are you doing here? So stuff like that was really, you know, tough to see. But again, it's no surprise. We've seen that kind of attacking performance throughout the year, like disjointed guys just giving the ball away so carelessly. Like, we have literally seen Rayo Hatate, Arnie Engels, Benji Nygren, Dyson Maida, Luke McCowan, Callum McGregor, whoever else, we have Anthony Rouse and Liam Scales. We've seen these guys giving the ball away time after time, match after match this calendar year. That's not new, and it was happening under Martin O'Neill, and it was happening under Brendan Rodgers. I guess the difference, certainly under Martin O'Neill, was that at least defensively we weren't conceding too many goals, and we were therefore giving ourselves a chance to still get wins. See the St Mirren game, for example, when we score late on in that game to win that. Under Wilfried Nancy, that St Mirren game would have been 2-0 down going into the final few minutes. We wouldn't have had a chance to get anything out that game. So, yeah, I struggled to see where it goes from here. I did feel the team had made a little bit of progress, really small steps, but small steps nonetheless, in the Aberdeen win and the Livingston win. And I did honestly think Celtic might just start to get some big wins, including in the game last night. But that was a massive setback. Like, that was as bad as anything we've seen under Wilfried Nancy in terms of players just looking like they weren't trying. And we had that one Nygren chance, but we really created nothing else. And if anything, 2-0 flattered us, given some of the areas Motherwell got into and didn't make the most of. So yeah, we move forward to Rangers, as we say, Stevie. He's going to be in charge for that. Personally, I think even if we lose that game, I think Wilfried Nancy's still going to be in charge going forwards, because I just think Celtic are incredibly slow at making these kind of decisions, and especially with January transfer window, we're literally going into that tomorrow. And what Michael Nicholson said recently about Wilfried Nancy and the planning they will have done for that window, I just think they're going to give him time to get this right. I just don't see it happening, because I don't think he's got the players on board.
No, and even at that, like, I don't know if it was a wee bit of ignorance from Nancy as well, the way that he set up, and thinking that system is just going to be overwhelming Motherwell. So I know you want to talk about Rangers, but I just have a few wee points here before that, Hamish.
Yeah.
But the way that you thought that system would just, like, dominate and overwhelm Motherwell, I thought to myself, no, I mean, Motherwell absolutely thrive on, the fact that we are pressing so high, for example, and any ball over the top to Motherwell's, like, quick wide players, for his, like, side and Just, two of them absolutely thrive on that. And that's what you saw in the first half, like, balls through the middle, balls over the top. We couldn't cope, and I really thought the manager was going to change that in the second half, and he was so arrogant not to do it. And then when I looked at Motherwell's subs bench before the game, Hamish, like, it was probably stronger than ours. It was so galling. It was, like, really, it shocked me. The fact that they brought on that boy Hendry's decent. Longello was a really good player as well. And when I look at ours, like, who are we bringing on? Like James Forrest, Colby Donovan, Yamada, McCowan. Like, yeah, galling stuff, mate. But now I know you want to talk about the Rangers game. I'm just trying my hardest to talk about the Motherwell one and forget this one coming up on Saturday, because I've no way. I can't tell where way it's going to go. Rangers again got a result tonight, didn't they? So that's 3 points behind. Could very well be even with us if they get a win on Saturday, which is unbelievable considering just 2 months ago we were 11 points clear, and now we're in a position where if Rangers win, they could be joint second. It's a staggering decline. It all comes from the board, and unfortunately, instead of nullifying it, I think we're going to just let it. As I say, I think we're just going to continue to self-implode, Hamish.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, when you look at the league table, we're not in a horrendous position. Like, Rangers have obviously found a way to start winning games, but they're not winning games convincingly. From the sounds of things, I think it was 2-1 against St Mirren. St Mirren also missed a penalty. So, and that was a home game. And, you know, you saw them against Hearts recently, and you've seen them in Europa League. Rangers are not a good side, and I'm well aware that I say that, and there's a fair chance they beat us on Saturday, because we're quite possibly worse. In fact, there's probably not much debate that at the moment we are a poorer side than them. But they're not a great side, and Hearts are obviously having a great season, but they've still shown in recent times that they are going to drop points, they're going to lose games. So it's like, the frustrating thing I think here is that you feel that if we, despite everything that's going on off the pitch with the squad, you feel that if we maybe just had a safer pair of hands, for example, Martin O'Neill, who clearly showed, despite everything, and despite the performances not being great in the main, he showed that he was able to bring the players together and give them something to play for and win games, find a way to win. You feel that with like Martin O'Neill in charge, or someone like that, as I say, a safer pair of hands, that the league is still winnable for us, very much winnable. I'd still back Celtic, despite everything, to win this league, because we're not in a bad position. We're only 3 points behind Hearts, and Rangers are 3 behind us. I think the concern is, at the moment, it just feels like we're going nowhere under Wilfried Nancy. And as I keep saying, I'm well aware that there's plenty of other reasons for that. But in football, it does, at this point, come down to the manager. When you're not winning games, it's always going to be the manager who comes under criticism. And I think if he was to lose on Saturday, I struggle to see how he could kind of come back from that or even continue. But as I say, this is Celtic, and we take our time with these under fire managers, and they'll back Nancy, and probably back Nancy until we reach the point where the season is gone. And I think that's a frustrating thing. A wee bit like the COVID season, is that, you know, as fans, we've seen this coming for a while. Even we had the same debate under Brendan Rodgers, where we just felt there was just a feeling that things were just heading, you know, for a really bad place, and we're going to end up with a trophyless season here if we persevere. And it just feels to me, if we did make a change, even after Saturday, if that game doesn't go well, the season would still be very salvageable. I just don't see much kind of cause for hope there under Wilfried Nancy. As I repeat from what I said at the start, you wouldn't watch that game and see any redeeming qualities in that performance. It was just tough all round. But I don't see Celtic making a change at all.
Just ask yourself, Hamish, is there one player that, since Nancy's come in, is there one player that's improved under him? Is there one player that performances have actually went upwards as opposed to declined? Can you name one?
No, the silence is probably doing all the talking there.
Yeah.
I can't. The regression in so many of these players this calendar year is quite something, isn't it? You look at someone like Kasper Schmeichel, how he started the year to what he's become now, and even, I mean, Schmeichel, even away from the mistakes he's making, the constant moaning at other Celtic players is just, that's a tough watch. That's not a happy camp you're seeing there. We need a manager to come in who can unite everyone. And
yeah, I don't see any signs of encouragement there, and I'm really sorry, because I don't want to come on here being negative. I mean, we did a video like 5 days ago. It was actually quite cheery, positive. So it's not like we come on and get a kick out of it. We don't need to. But I'm just being completely honest with people, and there's no signs of life in this Celtic team for me, to the point a game on Saturday at home against Rangers, I just don't know what way it's going to go, and a way I'm also dreading it. It's totally, and people can put it on. It's pretty pathetic state of affairs, but I just really worry about this side and about where they're going to go under this manager.
But you're also, well, I'm talking about me, I'm also dreading it because you're going to turn the game on and you're going to hear 2,500-3,000 Rangers fans. You're not going to hear the Celtic fans at all. There's no Green Brigade there. The atmosphere is going to be as bad as it will ever have been at Celtic Park for a derby match and the pre-match. It's going to be totally half-hearted. As I say, you're going to hear the Rangers fans at kick-off, a bit like, was it the Roma game recently, or was it another? Can't remember if it was. I think it was a Roma game, wasn't it? Where you could hear, maybe it was a Hearts game as well. You could hear their fans, but you couldn't hear the Celtic support at all. We're going to get more of that. The team are probably going to start pretty poorly. Rangers are potentially, going to get an early goal in that game, and then things are going to turn pretty poisonous. And it's a shame. There's no excitement for that game, and that should be a big game. You look at the league table, we should be going into this game, feeling, here's a huge opportunity to, turn the heat up in Hearts and also move 3 points further clear of Rangers. But and Celtic might go and win the game. That's the thing. You wouldn't totally write it off that we somehow, the players can summon sort of courage and some sort of courage and get a result here. But you just feel like the minute anything goes against us in that game, that the team are going to fold. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's totally grim, Stevie, at the moment. How many times have we done these kind of videos this year, just talking about the team being awful? It's like, this just can't continue, can it?
It's like, it's your livelihood, you do this full time as a job, and it can't be easy. I've just come on as a hobby to do it with you. But again, it's just as unenjoyable for me doing it. Like, I get no pleasure coming on and talking to you at the best of times, Hamish. Never mind, after a terrible result like this, and I'm serious. I don't want to come in, put the boot into a manager that I wanted to see succeeding. I don't want to put the boot into players who, I think have shown that they can be dependable and capable for us. But the big thing for me, Hamish, is regardless of how Saturday goes, I don't think we're going to be capable of going on a run. I just can't see it, and that's it. It'll be short lived, because that it's almost feeling, it's like the Mowbray season again, isn't it? Where you think we're going like this, and instead of continuing to climb, there's going to be a fall somewhere down the road. And
it's weird. It's like, if we win on Saturday, it's almost, it doesn't necessarily feel like a journey, part of the journey under Wilfried Nancy. It just kind of feels like a one-off win, and then what do we see at Falkirk after that? Like, would you be really surprised if we beat Rangers on Saturday and then lost to Falkirk next midweek? I think that's next midweek, although I might be
Dundee United after Rangers.
Right, okay.
Dundee United at home and then
following one. Oh, Stevie, cheer us up. Anything? What's your plans for New Year?
Just going to be stubborn for a couple of days, so that'll be good. Take my mind right off the football. I'm sure there's a all-you-can-eat buffet breakfast included as well. Beautiful. So that'll cheer me up. Can I just also say sorry to everyone? Like, I really want to reiterate, don't want to come on here and feel as if there's some joy, because there's probably are like these type of, you see it with the UK fan media. It's like they, after a defeat and all that, they love to dramatise it, don't they, Hamish? Like down south and everything, like they love to really hype a defeat and it gets numbers in, and they seem to enjoy all that, whereas I would hope we don't come across like that. I just can't come on here to be all positive. No, I know you don't. I can't be on here being all positive and try to see any positive. I know you genuinely do that, and I commend you for it. I could not see any of that tonight, Hamish, and I just thought, you knew when that Celtic side, after 30 seconds being penned in by Motherwell, you just knew that was done. And, I've said it all season, they're the best coach team in the country, and what their managers managed to do with a limited team like that, with no excuses, no complaining, is admirable. So yeah, they deserve to win. That's all I can say from it. There's nothing that went against us in that respect.
Well, 2025 is over. nearly. In terms of Celtic, it's over, and we can be happy with that because it's just been a pretty horrendous year, to be honest. I know we won the league title, but I think I said previously the league title was won in 2024. Even the way we ended up winning the league title, some of those defeats to Rangers and St Johnstone, and that was disappointing. The European stuff this season anyway has been awful, and we're now in a really kind of tough position. Lost the League Cup final, lost the Scottish Cup final. It's been an awful year. It's been a horrible year. 17 defeats. 17 times we've done a video, not necessarily me and you, but me and all of you and whoever else. We've done a video after a Celtic defeat this year. It's not good enough. Celtic need to be better in 2026, and I guess we can all cling on to the hope that we will be, but I don't know how much belief there actually is that will be the case. Stevie, have a lovely night, have a lovely new year, and we'll catch up with you very soon in 2026. Same goes for all of you. I know it's all a bit grim. Grim is the word I keep using. It's all a bit grim with Celtic at the moment, but yeah, as Stevie says, enjoy yourself tonight. If you're having a drink, if you're not having a drink, spending it with family, friends, whatever. Enjoy your new year and maybe switch off from Celtic for a bit because there's other things out in the world. Celtic will always be there. And thank you so much for the support for the channel in 2025. It's been a great year. We've got to 20,000 subscribers and there's plenty more to come in 2026 as well. We're going to get bigger, better because we never stop. I might have stolen that from a certain man. Oh dear. Right, I'm going, everyone. See you later. Happy New Year.